We continue Ariyavasa Sutta. First, we have to recite Ariyavasa Sutta Bali. Can you follow me? Tassa yime bhagave Ariyavasa. Yeriya Awasin Suwa Awasandiwa Awasaisandiwa Kadame Dasa Ida Bhagave Bhikkhu Pinjinga Webinodi Chalinga Samanagado Ekareko Chidura Pasino Panona Pichega Sijo Samawaya Satisano Anawila Singabo Pasada Gaya Singaro Sui Moda Jada Sui Moda Binyo. We recite together. Tassa ime bhagave Ariyavasa Yeriya Awasai Suwa Awasandiwa Awasai Sandiwa Kadame Dasa Ida Bhagave Bhikkhu Pinjinga Webina Hodi Jalinga Samanagada Ekareka Chadura Basinam Panona Vijega Sija Samawaya Satisana Anawila Singapore Pasada Gaya Singaram Sui Moda Jada Sui Moda Binya. Mercy zero aphorism. Can you follow me? To abandon the five factors, to be fulfilled with the six factors, and one protection, to depend on the false supports, and to dispel personal truths, to be free from searching, to have pure thoughts, to calm the in and out breath, to have a well-liberated mind, and well-liberated wisdom. The fully enlightened Buddha expounded the 10 features of Ariyavasa. So 10 Ariyavasa. Number 3, Ekareko, one protection. One protection we have to protect, we must have God. We have to check our mind to be guarded with mindfulness. Yogi checking their minds the whole day. If your mind If you find your mind totally unguarded for the whole day, try your best to have it guarded. Now you very, very careful with your mental unit, mental states. The whole day you are observing, checking your mind. If guarded only partially, then you try to make effort to get it fully guarded. Because without mindfulness, our mind is always exposed to all kinds of mental defilements. Desire, anger, delusion, etc. So if our mind is exposed to all kinds of mental defilements, we cannot become a Sotapanna, we cannot become Sakadagami, Anagami, not to mention Arahant. So Mahasi Sayadaw composed that verse, be mindful of whatever manifested. Be guarded by mindfulness at all times. Yogi, very fortunate. You're well prepared to protect your mind. You prepare many things. Before coming to the center, you prepared. During the intensive retreat, during practicing, you well prepared everything. Whatever manifested, remind you to be mindful of every phenomena manifested every time you see. Everything do you mindful? Every time you hear, you mindful. Every time you smell, every time you taste, every time you touch, every time you go, every time you come, every time you bend, every time you stretch, every time you think. Every time you analyze, every time you feel numb, painful, sad, depressed, discouraged, happy, and so on. Every time you mindful whatever manifested, you try to be mindful of every phenomena. So the more continuous the mindfulness, the better your concentration. The better the concentration, the sharper the insight knowledge. Yogi report very well, but some stays struggle. So this is the facts any dedicated meditator can verify. Day by day, week by week, yogis become mindful of every phenomena manifested without missing any of them. So such mindfulness is honored as a single God, a feature of the abode of noble ones, Ariyavasa. So now yogi understand why mindfulness is described as a single God. So, Eka record number 3 features. Today we are going to talk about the 4th features of Ariyavasa, that is Chatura Pasino, 4 supports to the development of mindfulness. To develop our mindfulness, how many supports we needed? We need to depend on 4 supports. Sinkayekam Pati Sewati, to use one thing by reflecting, to apply one thing. Sinkayeka Adiwasiti, to endure one thing by reflecting. Yogi need to be endured. Sinkayeka Parivisiti, to avoid one thing by reflecting. Sinkayeka Vinodati, to dispel one thing by reflecting. So 4 supports you need to remember. One thing to be applied, one things need to be endured, one things need to be avoided, one things need to be dispelled. So that is on the basic of these 4 supports. That yogi has to cultivate the mindfulness, the single God. So Mahasi Sayadaw have this aphorism: 4 supports to mindfulness are to use one thing, to apply one thing, to endure another, to avoid stay another, and to dispel stay another. So the first support, Sinkayekam Pati Sewati, a practitioner use one thing by reflecting. What that means? That means to basic necessity of our life. What are the basic necessity of our life? We need clothes, suitable clothes to practice meditation. We need food. Without food, we cannot practice meditation. We need breakfast and lunch. Then medicine, we need to be healthy, to get good health. We need medicine, and then dwelling, clothes, food, medicine, and dwelling, which we should use by reflecting their correct purposes. The first one is clothes. If we do not wear any clothes, we will be afflicted with cold, heat, and so on. So when the weather is too hot, temperature very high, you have some clothing for that weather. When the weather is very cold, temperature very low, you have warm another clothes to wear to practice meditation. Moreover, it is definitely disgraceful to be naked. That is why clothes are necessary for our life. And we are advised to wear clothes to practice meditation, to practice the Dharma. In the same way, food is necessary for our survival. To get energy, we need 2 meals, breakfast and lunch. Some monks, they practice only 1 meal. They practice only to practice meditation. So we have to eat food regularly by reflecting its purpose. In the same way, if we live in open space without proper lodging, we will suffer a lot from sun, rain, bad weather, and so on. So we have to live in the lodging by reflecting its use. In the same way, a medicine is necessary for our health. So we have to depend on it as required by reflecting its purpose. For other elaboration, to deny ourselves such necessity means self-denial or austerity called Attakilamata yoga practice. During the time of the Buddha, there were ascetics called Nikanda Ajivaka, known as Jain in modern days in India. They practiced the self-denial that required them to live a life without wearing clothes, eating proper food, and using any lodging. Even our Buddha, Bodhisattva himself practiced some kinds of self-denial, Dokkaracharya, in the early years of his practice. Having not yet discovered the correct method, known as Michima Bodhivada, middle way, the Bodhisattva practice austerity, like suppressing his in and out breaths, reducing his food intake to the extreme, and so on. However, later, Bodhisattva realized the futility of that austerity practice and gave it up and followed the middle way until he attained Buddhahood. So in modern India, there are Jain monks who stay committed to some kinds of self-denial. In the Buddha's holy order, such self-denial practice, self-torture practice, Attakilamata yoga are not allowed, nor is self-indulgence, Kama Sukha Ligana yoga, either, which indulge enjoying luxurious things like lavish clothes, expensive food, and luxurious lodging, etc. They are called Kama Sukha Ligana yoga. This practice is vulgar, common, ignoble, and unprofitable. And Attakilamata yoga, self-torture practice is painful, ignoble, and unprofitable. So the only practice encouraged is the middle way, which allows us to use what we should use by reflecting our correct purposes. So we do not fall into either of two extreme self-indulgence and self-torture. So one extreme is indulging in sensual pleasures. Another extreme is inflicting pain on one's own self or one's own body or self-torture. At the middle way or middle path, Buddha, or rather Bodhisattva, discovered by himself and he practiced. And he got the best result of this practice. That means as a result of this practice, middle way, he became the fully enlightened Buddha. So now Buddha said the Eightfold Path is the best among the paths. Extreme paths are not the right path. The Eightfold Path is the best among the paths. So that means there are paths or roads, and there are paths to be reborn in the Brahma realms, celestial realms, and so on. So among all these paths, the Eightfold Path is the best because it leads to the eradication of mental defilements. So now you are practicing this Eightfold Path or middle path, middle way. By using for support. So in the Eightfold Path, you are practicing right understanding, right thinking, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. You are developing all the times. You try to be mindful of the present object, presently arising object, you try to be mindful. You have to make an effort to be mindful of the present object. And the effort you make is one factor of the Eightfold Path, right effort. With right effort, you try to be mindful of the object and you are mindful of that object. That means your mind is hitting that object. Your minds go there and hitting the object. What is this? It is right mindfulness. Hitting the present object is right mindfulness. When that right mindfulness becomes stronger, you come down and your mind as it were goes to the object and stay there. So going to the object and staying there for a certain period of time is what is called right concentration. So that concentration is one factor, and this keeps your mind is concomitant on the object. It does not let them be scattered and does not let them go to other objects. So there is the nature of concentration. When you gain concentration, your mind becomes calm, and the mental hindrances are subdued. When mental hindrances are subdued, your mind becomes still. You begin to see the objects clearly. You begin to see the Namarupa more clear than before. Previous time you tried to see, you tried to observe, but your mind have mental hindrances. You don't see clearly. Now you begin to see these Namarupa clearly, more clearly than before. And you see the true nature of these Namarupa, mind and matter. And you see these Namarupa process arise depending on condition. And you see these Namarupa come and go. You watching continuously, of course you can see they come and go. So you see their impermanent nature. When you see their impermanent nature, you also see the suffering nature. What means suffering? Here suffering means being constantly tormented by arising and disappearing. When you see the impermanent nature and suffering nature of Namarupa, you also see the uncontrollable nature, anatta nature. That means you have no control over them. They arise and disappear as their own accord. And also you see that they are only the nama, psychophenomena that is making note, and rupa, the object that is taken as an object. There's no other things which can be called as atta or soul or self. That means you see the anatta nature of Namarupa. So seeing the objects clearly and so on are what is called right understanding. In order for your mind to be on the object, in order for your mind to be settled at the object, to see the true nature of the Namarupa, you need one mental factors, one mental state that takes your mind to the object and put it on the mind. That state that takes your mind and put it on the object is what is called right thinking, right thoughts among the 8 factors. So among the 8 factors, you may have noticed that there is this factor called right thought or right thinking. Right thought does not mean thinking here. Its function is to put your mind on the object so that understanding can see the true nature of the mind-body process. So now you know that these factors are working together at every moment of mindfulness you practice. You choose this path. There is right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration, right understanding, and right thoughts. So these factors are working together harmoniously at every moment of your good meditation. These 5 factors are called Waka web factors, or we may call them active factors. Now there are the other 3 that have to do with your moral conduct, that have to do with your sila, right speech, right action, and right livelihood. These sila factors are not present in your mind when you are practicing meditation, but they are accomplished when you take precepts. So they can be called active. They cannot be called active factors. So you do not get all these factors. You get only the 5 factors working together in harmony at every moment of your practice of mindfulness. So what you are practicing the middle way. You choose this path. So in Ariyavasa Sutta, to use for necessity for correct purpose means to have the first support to the development of mindfulness. So in the Dhammacakka Sutta, Buddha said, Dwe me bhikkhve anta papijite nana sevitaba. 2 extremes are not to be practiced by one who has gone forth from the world. The first one is Kamasukhalika Niyoga, self-indulgence that conjoined with passion, luxury, low, vulgar, common, ignoble, and unprofitable. That's part you not follow. Attakilamata Niyoga, self-torture, that is painful, ignoble, and unprofitable. You do not follow. The path you follow is the middle path. You avoiding these 2 extremes because that path is discovered by the Buddha. That path will open your eyes, that path will bestow your understanding, and that path will lead you to the peace of mind and to higher wisdom and to enlightenment. So to the development of mindfulness, you need to have the first support. Second support is Sinkayeka Adiwasiti. A bhikkhu endured 1 thing by reflecting. Endurance. The second support to your development of mindfulness is to endure 1 thing. There are things for us to endure during an intensive meditation retreat. Yogi should be capable of enduring cold, heat. Last week temperature very high and you need to be patient. Enduring cold, heat, noise, unpleasant sensation, and many other things disagreeable to yogi. Yogi should be capable of enduring everything, agreeable or disagreeable. So some meditators cannot bear pain. As soon as they feel painful, they give up mindfulness and seek to ease their pain, thereby delaying progress in meditation. So that is why it is quite important to endure, to be patient, such disagreeable things during a meditation retreat. Here in the text is Kayecha Jivitecha Anabhikata Upatabedi. Cultivate the spirit of not caring about your life and limbs. Yogi should seek spiritual accomplishment at all costs, even at the risk of our lives and limbs. Here, some people may think that Buddha teaching makes unreasonable demands on them. So meditation, intensive meditation sculpture is very tough. It's not easy. Lazy people cannot practice. Many hours you have to practice a day, non-stop practice. They may think that that sculpture is so tough, so demanding, unreasonable demanding. But we need to understand, we cannot attain the million house or billion house easily. We have to pay something. So here teaching is cultivate mindfulness. Don't care about your life and limbs. So this statement is aimed at encouraging yogi to do their utmost for their spiritual accomplishment. As a matter of fact, there is no case of illness, not to mention death, due to strenuous practice of meditation. During the practice of meditation, nobody dies, but unfortunately we die during our practice of meditation. Surely we will be reborn in the good realms. So on the contrary, there are cases in which people even recover from their illness through intensive meditation, and their numbers are quite considerable. So Mahasi Sayadaw mentioned that during the one of the intensive retreat, a woman came to his center to practice meditation, and that yogi said that she had a troublesome lump in her womb, maybe some kinds of cancer, that made it impossible for her to sit for a long time. And that yogi said she could not even sit for 10 or 50 minutes. At home, she cannot sit to have conversation with her family members. A doctor advised her to have the lamp removed. But she decided to take up meditation before surgical operation. And the meditation teacher gave her instruction in this way: "O yogi, you have the kinds of sickness. Don't be overly concerned about your sickness. You won't be required to practice as intensively as other meditators to relax, but make just enough effort to be mindful of whatever manifested to you." The meditation teacher encouraged that yogi. She followed the guidance of the teacher very seriously. And she made just enough effort to be mindful at all times. So before long, she could develop mindfulness and insight knowledge to a remarkable extent. As a result, her troublesome lamp became endurable and pain decreased in degree. At last, much to her surprise, she no longer felt any lump in her womb and was then able to sit for a long time without any pain. Later, she went to the doctor for another checkup. And after examining her, the doctor said that she did not need any operation because there's no lump in her womb. So there are many yogis whose disease can be cured by the practice of meditation. Very sure, by practicing meditation, their mind become clear and the mental health is really good and is support to their physical health. So here teaching, we need to encourage ourselves, cultivate mindfulness. Don't care about your life and limbs. Kayeja jiviteja anapikata upathabiti. It is not horrible demanding, it is just for encouraging. So meditator should exercise endurance as far as possible in the face of pain. Of course, he must do the needy changes when the pain is unbearable. You remind yourself every time patience leads to nirvana. The saying is very relevant to the practice of meditation than any other events. If we do not endure discomfort and disagreeable objects and changes our posture frequently and mindlessly, then we would become too agitated to concentrate. Without concentration, we can never attain instant knowledge. That is why if we encounter pain or anything unpleasant, we have to note them all with the patience and persistence. Of course, if the pain becomes really unbearable, we can change our physical position without dropping mindfulness. Mindfulness must be always there. So regarding this, there was a Venerable Pona who get instruction from the Buddha. At one time, Venerable Pona, a native of Sunapranta country, that is maybe some parts of India. Venerable Pona begged the fully enlightened Buddha to deliver a sermon to him in a concise way. So Buddha preached to Venerable Pona as in this way, O my son Pona, there are pleasurable and agreeable sights and scenes which can be perceived and known by your eyes. These pleasurable objects are also connected with your own desire. They are also prone to sensual attachment. If the sight come into your view, if that pleasurable sights are accepted with pleasure and looked upon as admiration, or they are embraced and grasped or kept in your possession, it would cause you nandi, that means lust or attachment. So my Sampona, I say that misery, suffering will take place because of this pleasure. So similarly, Buddha preached in respect of the sensation of sound, smell, taste, touch, and thoughts. So pleasurable and agreeable object, if you not be patient, if you not be aware, if you not take the true nature of that agreeable and pleasurable object, there may arise attachment that make you suffering. And the Buddha continue, "Oh my Sampona, the way to end misery is not to accept or not to entertain the different sensation arising from different sense object, which will cause to generate the feeling of delight and pleasure. So if it is done so, there will be no opportunity of nandi, attachment, and because of the cessation of attachment, misery and suffering will entirely cease." That means agreeable and pleasurable object, you try to be patient, you try to be aware of that object, and then attachment not occur, and there will be no suffering. Then Buddha said, "Oh, my son Pona, I've already given due admonition to you in a brief manner. You have heard and received my admonition. Now where are you going to recite?" And Venerable Pona replied, "Bhante, I am residing in Sunapranda state in the westernmost part of the continent of India." That means Pakistan or Afghanistan area. So Venerable Pona, we're going to reside there. And Buddha said, "Oh, my son Pona, the citizens of Sunapranta are rude, rough, and easily get angry. If these people scold you, utter abusive words at you, how do you reflect?" Buddha said to Venerable Pona, Venerable Pona answered, "Bhante, if these rude people abused and shouted me, I would bear in mind in this way. Oh, the citizens of Sunapranta are not bad at all. They only utter abusive words and rebuke, and they have not yet made any physical assault on me." Venerable Pona answered to Buddha. So that means disagreeable object, displeasurable object, when you encounter, you need to be patient, you need to be aware of it, and then you can overcome domanassa, discontentment or anger. So Buddha father asks Pona, "My son Pona, if these people, rude people, give you a beating and attack you physically, how would you reflect?" Venerable Pona replied, "Bhante, I would forbear it with a feeling of tolerance, patience. The Sunapranta citizens are only doing harm to me with their hands. Since they have not caused injury to me by throwing stone at me, they are not bad. They will be considered as having conducted themselves fairly well." Question then follows as to how Venerable Pona would react or respond if these rude people were assaulted physically with stone, sticks, and swords, not to extent of causing him death. So step by step, first they physically they scolded at Venerable Pona, and then physically assault to him. Then they assaulted physically with stone. They physically assaulted with sticks, and they physically assaulted with swords. So the reply given to every question put was that, Pandey, I will be tolerate, and I consider them as not behaving badly. They are not bad. They are fairly good. Then the question arose as to how he would bear in mind and feel if he were killed by being cut with a sword. The response given was that, having heard of an incident where some of the bhikkhus from among the disciples of the Buddha had even got fined for weapons such as sword to commit suicide, for being disgusted with their own material body and life existence. Because at the time, in these days, some monks, they practice meditation and they disgusted their body, and they discuss it with their own material body, and they find for weapons to commit suicide. So Venerable Bona said that, I am fortunate enough to be killed by another person because I no need to look for weapons which can cause death. So that kinds of reflection the positive wise reflection practiced by Venerable Bona. Venerable Bona practiced by reflecting in this way. And finally, he became an arahant even before the end of his first vasa. So in this story, Venerable Bona practiced patience. We need to be patient with agreeable object and disagreeable object, pleasurable object and unpleasurable, displeasurable object. So we need to have the kinds of yoniso manasikara, wise reflection and patience. There may be many distractions, and there may be many trouble and many intruding events. So instruction encourage yogis regard these objects as not intruder. Just accept them, be patient, and be mindful of them. And if you be mindful patiently, they will go by themselves. So pay attention to the visible object as it is. Don't add anything of person, and try to be patient. Patiently note agreeable object, disagreeable object, pleasurable object, displeasurable object. So that means bhikkhu contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending, and mindful. How to be mindful? Patiently mindful, and concentration getting better, and you can remove abhijja and domanassa, desire and discontent, regarding agreeable object and disagreeable object. So patience need to be applied with agreeable object and disagreeable object. With agreeable object, we may have there may occur attachment or desire. For disagreeable object, there may occur domanassa or discontentment. So here, in this Ariyavasa Sutta, patience is necessary. If we do not endure discomfort or disagreeable object, if we do not endure agreeable object, and we cannot develop concentration, and without concentration, we can never attain insight knowledge. That is why if we encounter pain or anything unpleasant, if we encounter pleasant object, we have to note them patiently. We have to note with the patience and persistence, and mindfulness and concentration getting better, and we can remove the desire and discontentment, overcome abhijja and domanassa. And the third support is Sankayika Parivijjati. A practitioner avoids one thing by reflecting. So tomorrow we have to, another day we have to continue. We have to stop our discourse for today by practicing Ariyavasa Dhamma, by developing mindfulness patiently, by noting rising, falling, sitting, touching, seeing, hearing, continuously and meticulously. May all yogis have Ariyavasa Dhamma. May all yogis build up the boat of noble ones. May all yogis be liberated from all suffering. So, Ekayano ayam bhikkhave Mego Sadanam Visodiyam Sogabari Devanam Samadegamaya Doga Domanasanam Atingamaya Nyayasa Adigamaya Nivanasa Sajigiriyaya Yadidam Chadaram Sadivatanam Kadame Chadaram Ida Bhikkhave Bhikkhu Kaye Kayanubasi Viharati Adabi Sambhajano Sadima Vineya Oge Abhijja Domanassa Vedanasu Vedananubasi Viharati Adabi Sambhajano Sadima Vineya Lord loke abhijja domanasam Chaita Chaitanubhasi Viharati Adavi Sambhajana Saddhima Vineya Loke Abhijja Domanasam Dhammesu Dhammanubhasi Viharati Adapi Sambhajana Saddhima Vineya Loke Abhijja Domanasam. English translation. This is the only way, bhikkhus, for the purifications of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for reaching the noble path, for the realizations of nirvana, namely the four foundations of mindfulness. What are the four? Here in the teaching, bhikkhus, bhikkhu does contemplating the body in the body, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, removing desire and discontent in the world. Bhikkhu does contemplating the feeling, ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, removing desire and discontent in the world. Twice contemplating the Dharma in the ardent, clearly comprehending and mindful, removing desire and discontent in the world. Bhikkhu twice contemplating the Dharma in the Dhammas, clearly comprehending and mindful, removing desire and discontent in the world. Honoring and sharing merits. Imayam Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiyam Bodham Bhujemi Imayam Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiyam Dhamma Bhujemi Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiyam Sangham Bhujemi Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiyam Adabhidara Ujemi Imaya Dhammanu Dhamma Patipatiyam Acariye Pujemi Adaimaya Padivadaya Jaramaranama Parimojai Sami Idame Bonyam Asawakaya Waham Adu Dame Silam Megabhalanya Nasa Vajaya Du Imana Punya Bhagam Savasadana Dima Sabe Sada Sukita Omdu Sadhu Sadhu Sadhu